it can take to resolve the current situation in Palestine/Israel. More than 130 days have passed and people in Gaza continue to suffer. Time is running out and I am afraid a big massacre will happen to thousands of refugees trapped in Rafah. What urgent and tangible actions need to be done to help stop this massacre?
Would you like to be done? So, we're going to go first.
You can go first. Whatever. Okay, I'll do it. That's obviously a very urgent question, and frankly, I don't have an answer. I think you heard me say before, I don't know what I can do to stop it. But I'm going to just take the opportunity to say something else. Just like the common people in Europe couldn't stop the Nazis, I can't stop what Israel's doing. But something I want to hold this up and show it to you. I created a GoFundMe. I created a QR code. I put some of these in the back over there. The brother's holding it up. I put some in the back over there. Something you can do is give some money to some people in Gaza. Something I did, you heard me tell the story. I started giving somebody $50, and then I asked somebody else, can you help? Can you help? Can you help? I put it on my Facebook page. Can anybody help? And people are just giving and giving and giving. And some of the people who I asked, could you help? Then they started asking other people, can you help? You know, so there's like pods or groups of people. And we've raised like thousands and thousands of dollars. And we send money. It's almost all to women with children in Gaza. And we help them, you know. And then, go back to answer that question. I don't think there's anything we can do. I think we're doing everything we can. I think the system that we're embedded in is thoroughly corrupt and almost like beyond our influence. And we just have to keep struggling and struggling and struggling. And for me, it goes almost all the way back to the time of the prophets or the time of Ibrahim, that we are put in this world to struggle for justice and for peace, no matter how long it takes. We can read about all these things going on all through history. And we each have a choice to make of where do we position ourselves in the society that we happen to get born into. And I would say with some humility that every single person in this room right now is born into some kind of privilege, or else you wouldn't be here, right? You'd be working in a factory somewhere, or you'd be, taking care of some, sick parents. You couldn't even be in this room if you didn't have some privilege and some position that you can use for something. So a little bit like what you're saying at the end, you put it in the framework of mental health. Use whatever you have. Use your voice, use your vote, use your money. Just anything you can do. I don't think we're going to be able to influence what's happening in these days and these weeks on the ground I don't think, other than just trying to help people. Another thing I've been doing so much is trying to help get people out of Gaza. I completely get it that Palestinian people belong in Palestine. I don't want to depopulate Palestine or continue the Nakba, but people need to be saved. So I've been very directly communicating with members of parliament, the minister of immigration, all this stuff. And we need to keep doing that. I don't know, I could talk a long time, but you've kind of basically heard my point of view on that. And please, hopefully you have something different to say. I just want to say about mental health. Me doing this, and like literally I send $200 to this woman with 6 children, or I send $250 to this other woman taking care of like 3 children plus her sister's 3 children. When I do that, I feel like I'm doing something. I can go to bed that night and I feel like, whew, I can spend all day long like fighting against like the kings and the powers that be, and I get almost nowhere with that, like Don Quixote going against a windmill. What do I have to show for everything I've been doing for 50 years? But if I send a couple $100 to Mesa or, Amal, and she can feed her children, it's like, oh, I feel good about myself. I'm just trying to, reinforce what Sheikh Ayman said, engage, do what you can do something, and you probably end up sleeping better at night if you do something. This big question of how do we stop what's going on? One day, everything's going to change. We're just not there yet.
We're gonna have you soon.
What's that?
We're gonna have you soon.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks.
Maybe just a quick, my intake into this, for the last question, is that, don't belittle what you can do. We might not be able to change the rotten perspective of our leadership, and I do mean it, the rotten perspective of the international community leadership. But there's a lot we can do. We live in democratic societies, and we know that politicians are persuaded by the opinions of the general mass, and we know there are lobby groups that work within any country to persuade government in certain direction. The pharmaceutical industry have lobbies, the agricultural, different industries, different groups have their own persuasion lobbies. Let's empower the lobbies that advocate for human principles and rights. And there are many of them. There's one called NCCM, National Council of Canadian Muslims. I'm sure within your movement there are some also advocacy groups. So get it yourself. I know that Susan is very active also in advocacy work. So get yourself involved. Don't feel despair. As David have said, even if you're contributing whatever little thing, I teach my children, give a little thing for the children of Gaza. Dua, supplication to the mighty is very powerful. Use your own language, your own faith, whatever. Just empower yourself by being connected and doing something. Don't feel despair. It is taking time, but this is no different. What we're living in is no different than what the condition of Moses, peace be upon him, was living, seeing the children of Israel being slaughtered in front of his own eyes, not being able to do something, but he never lost hope, and eventually he gained the victory. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me show you that.
Related to your mental health concern.
Sure.
One questioner is asking about this feelings of collective trauma and this notion about how we cope by finding spaces in which we all can commiserate and mourn together. So they're asking about what your thoughts are about these spaces of collective trauma and places where we learn to feel and commiserate with one another.
It's not rocket science. I know that mental health is on, and always in the media, and we sometimes, if you're not a mental health expert, think it's very, very complicated. It's very simple. It's as simple as just getting together on a regular basis, or joining a chat, social media outlet, or connecting, with any group, and share your feelings, share your thoughts. Also, if needed, and I know that most campuses do have facilities, from the spiritual, side or the mental health side, reach out, talk. The stigma around mental health should be diminished and should be, removed away. I personally have sought mental health. I could not, deal with it by myself. The first day when this happened, immediately, the first week, I reached out for my family. I said to them, listen, we're all traumatized, we're all, tense, and let's, be aware of this and let's connect together so we're able to, catharsize and empower ourselves to keep going. As I said, if needed, reach out for specialist or for someone who is more expert in this area, who can facilitate this process or give you a more one-to-one, so that you're able to keep going. And I'm sure, like in the campus here, I'm sure you guys have mechanism whereby you're able to provide this for students. So students reach out, organize, and I know at McMaster, where I have been with David also, the chaplain there is amazing. He's been facilitating for the students and creating the environment for them so that they're able to get together and communicate and talk about it and give them the chance to invite experts from the community so they're able to give them the empowerment needed. Yeah.
Great. We're already 5 minutes over time, so and I don't think we have any sort of pressing questions. So I'd like to wrap up and hand things over to the organizers to close.
This is my website. I should not be promoting my website, but just in case, reach out inshallah, and if anything I could be of help with, I'll be more than happy to do so.
I would say the same thing. I can't post a website, but if anybody's interested in connecting with me, ask around, somehow get, I have a rather unique name. You can just Google me and you'll find me, and I'll be happy to talk with you.
And that's exactly, seeing two, faith leaderships reaching out and destroying the myth, the perceptions, and promote one objective, which is we're human being, we're descendants from two couple, Adam and Eve, and we need to look after each other's. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Rabbi David Zavir and Sheikh Ayman Bahar.
Okay, you're welcome.
I hope this speaker talk was influential, and I hope we could apply some of the things spoken here in our daily lives. And just before we leave, I would just like to announce that on March 1st, we'll be having a huge event, Marhaba Night. And if you already know, those who came